Make sure to subscribe for daily Star Wars content. Could J.J. Abrams have made a good sequel trilogy? Let's think about it. So, J.J. Abrams obviously made episode 7 and 9, and episode 7 was a decent start. I'd say it's the best one in the trilogy. So, you have to get all of the fans back into Star Wars. So, a great way to do that is to give them some nostalgia and some important aspects from other movies into your movie. However, JJ overdid it and basically made episode 7 a recap of episode like 4, 5, and 6, which was not too good. George in every single Star Wars movie made a big difference. There was not just the same thing. He changed everything up. So it's almost like a different movie. Just the only thing that kept it together was that it was a Star Wars movie. J.J. Abrams decided not to take a chance like George Lucas was in all of his movies, and he decided to go with what already worked. All right. However, Episode 7 was the best of them, of the sequels. So what if he wrote Episode 8 and Episode 9? Now, obviously, he did do Episode 9, but his movie was probably totally different than when he had planned if he did the whole trilogy. So if he did Episode 8, maybe we'd see Rey training. Maybe we'd see a better, like Luke being taken care of more. So in The Force Awakens at the end, when Rey holds up the lightsaber, you see a tear going down Luke's eye. I mean, that is important to him. And I feel like JJ would have took more care of Luke Skywalker. And I just wonder sometimes what would happen. And I think it would be totally different. I think maybe Luke would be reluctant. Maybe instead of throwing the lightsaber behind his back, he might be like, I don't deserve this anymore because I failed. And he'd need to take time to think about it. But what a great part where I think he'd know what he had to do is when Leia, when she got shot out of the ship, instead of doing that Superman thing that she did, what if she like used her last seconds to like tell Luke, like, you need to come back. You need to train this Rey, and you need to be the hope that the Resistance needs. Maybe it made it so much better. And not only that, he could still get advice from Yoda. I mean, Yoda gave pretty good advice. That was the only scene I liked in The Last Jedi. I personally highly disliked The Last Jedi. It's just so untrue to Luke, and it messed up all the characters. But there was that scene with Yoda was pretty good, and he taught him things. What if Leia said something? What if she encouraged him? He gets two forms of encouragement, and I wonder if JJ would have taken a different path. Like, would the whole thing of like they're being tracked through light speed and they're running out of fuel? That's not an interesting movie. I mean, some people say The Phantom Menace wasn't interesting. This whole movie is about people running out of fuel and then they go to a casino to find a code breaker. Come on, that's boring. It was not only a bad movie to the characters, it was a boring movie. And I think if JJ did episode 8, then he would have a great episode 9. I think we would still not be, huge sequel fans, and for the sequel fans out there, good for you. But I feel like the people who didn't like the sequels, they still wouldn't like the sequels, but I think people would have better respect for them, and maybe people would. Maybe JJ would have pulled it through. Like episode 7, right? He got everyone back. He set up these new characters, mixing them with the old characters, so it kind of fits pretty nice. Now in episode 8, if you expand more on the new characters, but then you have Luke helping and training Rey. So if Luke trained Rey, she gets a bunch of skills, right? She goes and she fights Ben, and maybe she loses, and that's when Luke comes out and he attacks, and we get to see the Luke Skywalker that we always wanted to see once we knew that they were making sequels. That would have been crazy. Crazy good. And episode 9 would be totally different as well, I believe, because really, JJ sacrificed the movie just to reverse Rian Johnson. Think about it. Everything in The Rise of Skywalker was just reversed of what Rian Johnson did. Rian Johnson says this, JJ says another thing. So he he put together a quick, rushed, like just unorganized movie, but it retconned basically everything that The Last Jedi did, just so that we didn't end off with like the worst trilogy and or Star Wars just being done. If Episode 9 was as bad as Episode 8, that would take a big hit, and I think JJ did the right thing in retconning everything, but that doesn't make a good movie. It just makes us feel more satisfied with the ending. So if he did 7, 8, and 9, it could have been a better story. It could have been what we liked, but the one issue is he states a lot that he does not like the prequels. And when you're creating a movie about Star Wars, okay, there's other films out there, and you need to. Star Wars is one story, okay? It's not a story about Rey. It's a story about Anakin. George has said it many times. It's not about Luke, all right? It's not about him at all. It's about Anakin. The whole story, the Skywalker saga, is Anakin. Anakin's rise and his tragedy. So if JJ is just ignoring a whole trilogy, not only the whole trilogy but the whole story of Star Wars, that could be also pretty bad. So maybe we would have had a worse trilogy if Rian Johnson didn't step in Episode 8, which is crazy to think because Rian Johnson did awful on that movie, but it's just weird to think. I feel like both situations could be bad. Rian Johnson coming in and screwing it up, and then JJ fixing what he did, but still making a bad movie, resulting in a bad trilogy. Or would you rather have JJ do it, but ignore, like, half of Star Wars? And then that would make prequel fans even more mad. So I don't think there's a happy ending there. I think the happy ending is if they got a director who understood Star Wars, understood the meaning of Star Wars, or they just got George on to help. Not to direct a movie, because they wouldn't spend $4 billion for Star Wars. To just let George do everything. However, if they took George in for some input, like they're doing now in The Mandalorian, Dave Filoni talks to George Lucas often about Grogu. He talked to him about Grogu, and George was telling him, like, you need to make sure you give Grogu training. Probably because he saw what happened with Rey. And I think if you had George's input, if they came to George and were like, hey, we have some ideas, and we want to run them past you. You are the creator of Star Wars. You made this all happen. You made it so we could do this right now. So we want your input. Should Rey do this? Should we treat Luke like this? And they didn't need to listen to all George's ideas, but just hearing that voice from the creator of Star Wars on what he would do in that situation would be much better than just kind of winging it. The whole sequel trilogy feels like they were winging it. Daisy Ridley said there was basically no plan for who she was related to, who her parents or grandparents, because they were winging it. Oh, I get to write a Star Wars movie? Cool. I get to write a Star Wars movie. But it's not just a regular movie. It's not an action movie. I mean, it has space, it has ships, but it's about the story. And there's so many, like, movies about space out there that all failed because it doesn't have a good story. And George has said it's about the story. It's what stories what makes Star Wars special. He even said, like, dialogue is kind of just like a sound effect. It's not about the effects, the visual effects, and how good it looks. It's about the story, because no matter how good, no matter how good it looks, it's not gonna be a good movie if you don't understand what's happening. If the story's not solid, then you don't really understand what's going on. Oh, this looks nice, and I think that's what got some people in The Last Jedi. Some of The Last Jedi fans is watching this beautiful looking movie, and it's just kind of attaching you to the movie, when really you're missing the story. And I think that happens when you watch any movie. And if you're ever given a review on a movie, watch it twice, or show, watch it twice before you give your review, because the first time is totally different than the second time. The first time you watch a movie, okay, or a show, you're just excited about what's going to happen next. Second time is when you analyze, you know how it ended. What did the characters do? What did the characters do to make it that way? And that's why some people in The Last Jedi might have just liked it because they were just like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And then they came out with all this positive stuff. It looks nice. This is what happened next. All this stuff. But you really got to look at the story. And I don't know if JJ could have done it. I know they always wanted to do like they did in the original trilogy where you have a different director for every movie. But basically, the whole original trilogy was basically run by George, even though it was directed by two other people. He was there the whole time, just helping out, saying things. He was sitting on set every single day, basically. Just he was giving his thoughts. Not only his thoughts, he was also like co-directing the movie. You need George in some of these situations, and a guy like J.J. Abrams. If they had J.J. Abrams, Ryan Johnson, some other guy, what would we got then? Could have been worse. Only reason they brought J.J. back is because Force Awakens was half decent. And they just wanted to kind of throw something out there. Kathleen Kennedy just moved on. When Rise of Skywalker, when they were working on it, she just moved on to The Mandalorian. She just wanted to focus on that. Because they lost the story with Ryan Johnson. But how good of the story would it have been with JJ? Not much better, right? If you stuck around this long, let me know what you think about that. And I'll see you all in the next video.